Hello, and welcome to SciEngiMathePloration. My name is Gary Mack. As you may be able to tell from the title of our show, this is all about exploring the fields of science, engineering, and math, and how those fields play an important role in our everyday life. We hope that you'll find the topics we're looking at interesting enough to do some additional research on your own. At the end of every show, there'll be a list of resources for you, things to look up on the intranet or at the library or even at your school. Before we begin with SciEngiMathePloration, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for this show, the Engineering Society of Detroit, the architecture and engineering firm of Harley Ellis Devereaux, and most importantly, the staff and volunteers at the Southwest Oakland Cable Consortium for all their help in putting this show together. Now, it's time for SciEngiMathePloration. My guest today is Ron Smith, Director of Education for the Engineering Society of Detroit. Ron, welcome to SciEngiMathePloration.
Well, thank you so much, Gary.
What can you tell me about the Engineering Society of Detroit?
Well, the Engineering Society of Detroit, or ESD, is about 112 years old, founded in 1895 by Horace Rackham. Used to be located right next to the DIA down in Detroit. Mm-hmm. We serve, our whole purpose and our mission is to serve the current generation of engineers and to foster the next.
Well, in addition to the Future Cities program, which we'll talk more about in a second, what other kind of programs is the ESD support or sponsor?
A key ingredient to the Engineering Society of Detroit is the networking between engineers from all the different disciplines and all the different fields of engineering. That really creates an opportunity for engineers to see what other engineers are doing and also to test and mix ideas with each other over roundtable discussions, professional development programs, getting ready for their professional license exams, and just plain networking and having fun social times with each other.
How large is the membership of ESD?
ESD is about 4,000 to 5,000 engineers strong on individual memberships. We have about 150 corporate members, and from that we also have a reach of about 8,000 or 9,000 engineers throughout southeast Michigan and really all of Michigan.
Now, is membership open to anyone?
Membership's open to anyone that is an engineer or interested in serving with other engineers.
How long has the Engineering Society of Detroit been involved in the Future Cities program?
We've been involved in the Future Cities program for the last 13 years of the 15 years that Future City has been a national program. It was actually founded as a National Engineering Week program, and in that program we have students participate and in the regional competition, and then the top or winner, the three students, the teacher, and the engineer mentor have an opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C. for the grand prize of participating in the national competition.
Wow, that sounds like a wonderful opportunity. How many students or how many schools were involved this year?
We had 62 schools through registration, and we had 42 make it all the way to the regional competition in Novi, Michigan, and of those 42 we picked 5 top places.
Oh, that's fabulous. Now, I understand that there's a lot of volunteers involved in the Future Cities program, too. Do you have an estimate of how many volunteers are involved?
It's a tremendous volunteer project, and part of the pride that we have in the program is that it brings out about 200-plus engineers who are willing to give their time and hours to help the students in the classrooms, both mentoring them on engineering projects and building their cities, all the way up to the final competition where engineers come from all over and actually bestow special awards on many of the teams for interesting and current activities that are going on. In fact, this year's competition had a great deal to do with fuel cells and the development of fuel cells and their use within the community, within the industrial areas, and within the residential areas.
Well, it certainly sounds like a wonderful program. Now, if there are teachers or families who are watching who haven't been involved in Future Cities to date, how would they get involved?
It's very, very easy to get involved. All you need to do is go to our website, which is www.esd.org, and find out more about Future Cities, see some of the cities of the past, some of the activities, and we also explore many math, science, and engineering activities for students. In fact, we have a junior membership that students can get involved in starting in February.
Oh, that's very interesting. Now, in addition to students and schools, is there room for more volunteers or more sponsors?
Always room for more volunteers and more sponsors. One of the things that we found is by doing and by creating activities and growing activities with the students, we find a real passion in the engineers, and the word spreads fast. And we can always use a few more engineers. We can always use a few more sponsors to help us with these students as they grow. They work on the project from September through January. So it's a long process, and now we're putting together teams because we know time is one of our most valuable assets. Certainly could use more sponsors.
Well, great. Well, I was at the regional competition this year, and it was a wonderful event, and I think that you and the ESD and all of the students and teachers who are involved deserve a round of applause and congratulations for a event.
Well, thank you very much. There's nothing more important than fostering some love of math, science, and engineering, or at least getting students interested so they don't turn it off in those middle school years and give it a shot in high school or beyond.
Sure, I understand. We're going to take an opportunity to speak to some of the engineering mentors for one of the teams this year and find out about their role in the process. Today's program is about the Future Cities competition sponsored by the Engineering Society of Detroit. Future Cities is a competition for middle school children where teams get together to envision and create a city of the future. Much like today's city planners, these kids have to solve all of the problems that a modern city has. Things like housing, industry, utilities, transportation, recreation, and even waste hauling, everything. They do this first constructing a city using the SimCity software, and then later they construct an actual model of part of their city. There's also an essay involved where the students have to analyze factors relating to their city and meet the challenges of the theme of this year's program, which was fuel cells. This is a team-based project in which teams of students compete against one another for the right to move on to the national competition, which is held in Washington, D.C. during Engineers Week. We have with us today some of the adults that were involved in the project for the Power Middle School team. I'd like to introduce them to you. Here on my left is Christine Kale and Bill Zipp. They were the engineering mentors for the team. Lorna Bussa is the teacher, and Bob Kovar is the principal of Power Middle School, part of the Farmington Public Schools Network. Welcome to SciEngiMathePloration.
Thank you.
Let's find out a little bit about Future Cities. Bob, if I could ask you, how did your school get involved?
We first started with an idea from Lorna Buss, our science teacher, and she's also our science department chair, and she was looking for a way to provide opportunities for kids that would be high-end opportunities to do things that they could later relate to in their own possible work careers. And it's been great ever since the beginning.
All right. How long has your school been involved?
This is our third year. Third successful year, I might add.
Great. Well, what kind of returns do you see for the investment of the school and your resources? What difference does it make to the kids?
Oh, I think it makes a huge difference. You know, we're moving into a time when kids, I think, have to be ready for a future that's changing rapidly. And they have to begin even as young as middle school to start seeing what kinds of opportunities they have in the world of work and begin preparing for them. This has been a great opportunity for kids to see actual things that they could do, things that are engineering related, design related, and look at skill building that they may develop now and even in the future to empower them to be successful in the 21st century.
Good, great. Lorna, if I could ask you a question or two, tell me about your team. How many students were actually involved?
We have 25 7th and 8th grade students involved, and they come based on their passion. They have a passion for engineering, they have a passion for building, they have a passion for writing. So when we want students to come who want to dedicate themselves to the project, and that's the team we had, 25 wonderful Power students.
Well, that's great. How did you select the 25, or were they just, is this an after-school activity? Or?
This is an after-school club. Kids are self-selected. We get the word out, we show the model to the students, and we ask them to come for a SimCity training. We ask them to promote it amongst themselves, and typically we get kids who are truly interested, and they come every day. They come at lunchtime when we're writing the essay. When the boys were writing the computer portion, they were in every lunch hour, editing, fixing, so they're very dedicated students.
Great. It sounds like it was a lot of fun. What sort of challenges do the students face in doing all these things? I understand computer program, there's an essay, there's also a model that has to be built?
Yes, we have 3 different divisions in our team. We have one group who learns the SimCity software, and they plan a city using the software in the what year, 2027, in the future.
Okay.
So then we have another group who are the writers. They had to research fuel cells this year, and that's where our engineers come in. They help us learn about the fuel cells, how they operate, and then they write an essay on that. And then after they've done that, which takes a lot of time, it's a very difficult task, but they did very well, they write an abstract about their city. They describe the services, what makes up the city, how the people function. Then when that's done, they try to write a presentation, which they present when they go to the competition on the 17th.
Great. It sounds very comprehensive. What's your favorite part of the whole project?
Oh, the competition day, of course. We work so hard. The kids are ready. They're nervous. They're excited. They go in, and for the 3 years that they shine, we watch them really turn into adults. They go from quiet little 8th graders to kids who stand straight and tall and are proud of their project. They're really excited because adults have an interest in their passion, and when they ask questions about their city, they see that this isn't just a school project. This is a career for their future.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Let me ask questions of our engineering mentors here today. I understand you play a key role in advising the students. What kind of questions do you answer for them? What do they ask their engineer mentors?
A lot of times they're asking, what can I get out of being an engineer?
Oh.
Engineers solve problems. Engineers help people plan for the futures, for their career, for their family. It's really wonderful to watch them grow.
Oh, that's great. What kind of challenges did your team face this year? What were the engineering challenges?
Well, this year they had to devise a system, develop a strategy to power their city using fuel cell technology. Fuel cell technology is a current technology, but it's a small budding technology. And so they didn't know anything about fuel cells. And so they had to do a lot of research. And it was really rewarding to watch them learn how to research as well as learn what a fuel cell does.
So the engineering solutions are based on today's technology, or are they creating things completely in the future that we don't know about yet?
Well, in your past years, there have been both, where there's an existing technology that they want to expand out into the future. This year, they chose a technology that's new and will be a serious technology in the future as fossil fuels are diminished.
Right.
And we have to come up with a better way of powering our cities and mobility.
That's great. Christine, let me ask you a question or two. Sure. I understand this competition is for junior high school or middle students. How do they really use this and think about their future? It seems like it's an awfully distance for a middle school student to think about their future.
It is, but it's always good to start to dream. And like Bill said, they do start solving problems and seeing that that's kind of what engineers do. We go out and we solve problems. Maybe on a slightly larger scale, but that's what's done. And so I think it's great because they can see the fun side of engineering and really get challenged by it. And I think that's the great thing about this program.
Well, if a student was interested in engineering, what kind of things or classes should they be taking or thinking about?
Well, math and science, of course. But what I think is great about Future Cities is that it also brings in the writing and the presentation, which is also important in engineering. You also need to have that side to it as well. And so not only do you need to have the strong science and math background with the research that they do, but they also need to learn to present that.
Sure, absolutely. Now, I understand you were a rookie this year.
I was, definitely. This is my first year.
Well, now that you've had this experience, looking back on it, what can you tell us about it? What surprised you about being a mentor for a team?
I think what surprised me is just how much you can see the students grow. And you find that you are so excited for the students, and just as you see their excitement grow, you get excited about it as well. And they're so proud of what they do, and that is really exciting for you to see and to know that all of us, all the adults here, played a role in helping guide that a bit, and that was just really exciting to see.
Okay, what are your plans for next year?
Definitely, I'm part of it. So.
That's great. Well, it's great to hear from these folks that stood behind their kids and brought their team along. The Power Middle School team was the finalist in this year's competition and won some special awards as well. And next, we're going to meet the team from Power Middle School. Hi, we have the team with Power Middle School with us in the studio now. Now these are the 3 students that were the presenters for the team. As you remember, there's 25 total students on the team. And with me here to my left is Pritam Mathavanan, in the middle, Shrisha Thoda, and Jordan Greider on the end. Now let me ask you a few questions about this Future Cities experience that you had this year. But what did you learn about cities while you were working on this project? Let me start with you, Pritam.
I learned a lot about cities. I learned about how they have to be planned, how things have to be adaptable for the people, and how the energy source has to be reliable and efficient.
And I think that was fuel cells this year, right?
Yeah, that was fuel cells.
Well, tell me a little bit about fuel cells.
Well, fuel cells are efficient, and the 2 fuel cells we used in our city are still in the developmental stage, but for Future City at this time that our city was built, they'd be fully functional, and they were called the protonic ceramic fuel cell and the molten carbonate fuel cell.
Now, what year was your city set in?
About 2100.
2100. So you're confident that we'll be using fuel cells by 2100?
Yeah, these type of fuel cells.
All right, good, good. Now, in your research on your city, what did you discover that now you'd like to learn more about?
Probably fuel cells, because right now we're developing hydrogen fuel cells at this time. These are a little more advanced. They require more energy, more space, and etc.
Oh, well, I'm certain that you will learn more about fuel cells in the future. Let me ask a question of Shrisha, if you'd pass the microphone down to her. Shrisha, is this the first year you worked on Future Cities?
Yep.
Well, now on your work on the team, what was the hardest problem that the team had to solve?
Well, the writers and the builders had to get together. It was communication. Like what we wrote in the essay, the builders had to build, and what they built, we had to write about. So I wanted to sit down and talk about it. We just want to kind of go build stuff. So it was communication.
Now, in addition to being on the presentation team, you were also part of one of the 3 other teams involved?
Yeah, I was with the writing group.
The writing group. And what was the challenge for the writing group?
We had to write an essay that was between 500 to 700 words. We had to write an abstract that was between 300 to 500 words, and a skit that we presented.
I see. And what did the essay and the abstract, what did they tell the judges about your city?
Wait, my voice. It's kind of going weird, I'm sorry. Okay, the essay, we had to kind of engineeringly talk about our city, like the engineering aspects of it. In the abstract, we kind of got to talk the fun things about the city.
Okay, well, I'm interested in that. Of all the things that you put into the city, what was your favorite aspect that you'd like to see in your hometown today?
Half of our city is underwater.
Yes.
So if half of Farmington was underwater, that'd be really cool, but that'd be impossible because we're on land.
I see. All right. Well, you're right. That would be a problem. Let me ask Jordan a question now. Jordan, in addition to building the model, what role did you play in the team?
Well, I am a presenter for the group.
Right.
So I played the part of the intern at the facility during the skit.
Okay. Now, you did a lot of research on this. Of all that information you came across, what was the most interesting fact that you learned in this process?
I learned a lot about fuel cells. Before, I only thought that there were hydrogen fuel cells, but now I know there's more, and they can use different power sources.
I see. Now, I understand your team worked on this project for a number of months. What did you really learn about working together that you think you'll be able to use in the future?
I learned a lot about teamwork, because the most important skill when you get a job is probably going to be working with others, because that really helps a company work.
Sure, sure. Now, I know that the Power Middle School team was an award-winning team. You were among the 5 finalists. I see you're wearing medals. Can you tell me a little bit about your medal? Jordan, what's that stand for?
We got 2nd place in the Future City, and we also got Best Essay.
The Best Essay Award. Yes, I understand the Best Essay Award was presented by Michigan Construction News in Simcoe, and it was for the essay. Now, did you work on the essay?
No, I didn't.
Shrisha, you were on the essay team, right? Well, congratulations to you for an award-winning essay. Well, I'll tell you what, that sounds interesting. I know you guys really worked hard on this, and you came a long way with it. Now, you're all 8th graders, so you don't get to work on the Future Cities team next year, right? You'll be moving on to another school. Jordan, what one thing would you say to next year's team to help them get ready?
Well, to next year's team, I'd say make the city look really complicated because the judges are really impressed when it's really detailed.
All right, that's good. Shrisha, do you have any instructions or ideas for next year's team?
I'd say, I'd say build something like, that you'd love, like something to say that you'd love to live with, like something from like your wildest dreams, but not completely crazy or anything.
Not completely crazy?
No, you don't want like witches in your bathtubs and like fairies flying around, but
That might be a little crazy. All right, finally, in pre-time, if you were a coach on next year's team, what would you tell the team when they're starting out?
I'd tell them to be really creative. Future City is all about creativity, and I'd also tell them not to do a speech when they're presenting in front of the final judges, because the judges aren't very interested with that type of stuff.
They're not interested in speeches. They want to find out what's on your mind.
They want more creativity. Like most of the schools in the final 5, they did more like speeches, and we were the only one that did more like a play, like a short skit.
Okay, well, it did well. You made it to second place. Congratulations. I'll tell you what I'd like to do now. A lot of building cities is about structures and how things go together, and I brought a couple science experiments with me today. If you guys want to join me, I'd like you to try out a couple of experiments. That sound interesting?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's try that. I've asked the award-winning team from Power Middle School to join me here at the experiment table so that we can try a few experiments and see how different shapes work in construction of buildings and things like that. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now you see here in front of you several different shapes. Each of these shapes are made out of construction paper. And if we were building a model, could you guess how these different shapes would work? Which ones of them would be stronger than the others? Pritam, what do you think?
I think the triangle would be.
The triangle, this one right here, the three-sided figure?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Because compared to the square right here, this has more support on each of its edges than the square does, because the square divides it by 4 and this divides it by 3.
Okay, I think that's probably a good example. Shrisha, how about you?
I think the triangle also too, because if you put something like triangle in like the square, it'll fall off, but like the triangle will give it support.
Okay, now does it matter whether you like either one of these two triangles better? One of them's a little taller, one of them's a little wider?
No, I think both of them would be the same.
Both of them would work the same? All right, well, we'll test that. Finally, Jordan, what shape do you like?
I think the circle would work the best because the sort of evenly distributed around.
Okay, the circle, well, we could call that a column too, I think, right? Nobody picked this one. What about this one right here?
On that one, the third side would fall off right here because it's
Yeah.
open, so you wouldn't have support. Gravity would tip the object over.
All right, we won't even test that one if none of you. What about the four-sided one, the square? Most buildings I see are squares. Don't you think that would work?
It might.
It might. There's only one way to find out. Let's test it. Let's try it with the square first. What we're going to do to test it is we're going to put some books on top of it. You ready?
Yeah.
Go ahead. See how many books it can take? One book.
Oh,
Not even.
not
All
even
right.
a book.
All right, that one's out of here. Let's try one of our triangles. All right, go for that one.
Oh,
Ooh, one
it
book.
made a book.
Let's see, they got different sized books here. Let's go with this one.
Oh,
A book and a half, I think, for that one. All right, that looks like that's history. This one here, it's a little more compact. You think that'll hold more than 2 books?
I don't know.
All right, Trisha, you try.
Okay, I think that was my fault.
Not even one. Are you going to try one again
I
there?
think so, because I think that was
Yeah,
my
let's
fault.
think it'll
Okay,
a wrinkle in them. Once you wrinkle it, I don't know. I think it should.
Yeah.
All right, one down, one to go. You ready?
Circle.
Be sure you get your books on there even. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, all right, 3.5. That was pretty good. Now here's a challenge for you. What do you think about this? I've taken 3 columns and I've just put a little rubber band around them to hold them together. How do you think that'll influence it?
I think that'd be really good.
That'd
Yeah.
be pretty good because as the circle already worked once.
Right,
and
this one did.
2 extra circles will just give it more support.
All right, I know you guys call these circles. I call them columns. They're
So-
tall. circle is a two-dimensional figure. All right, let's try it. Let's see how many books. I think we got up to 4 in that last one, didn't we?
3.5. Actually.
3.5. All right, 1, 2. Oh, it's unstable. That's the guy that made the columns didn't do a good job. All right, this is a big book. See where you get there.
That counts as 2 books.
That counts as 2. All right, we're at 4 already. Let's see, I got another one here. How about a skinny one? Let's try one more.
Oh.
All right, we're going. Here we are, keep going. Ah! There it goes, all right. Well, that was 5 or 6 books anyway.
6.
Yeah.
That was 6 books.
I think 3 columns together there before they got squashed anyway did a pretty good job. Pretty good job for construction paper. All right, let me try another experiment with you. I'll give you another challenge here. And this, I'm going to bring up 2 little sides for this. And here's the challenge. You get just 1 sheet of paper, but you have to change the shape of that paper so that it's strong enough to hold up a can of soup. What do you think? Any ideas?
I think if you fold the paper into a cylinder,
Into a cylinder, all right.
a very compact cylinder,
Okay.
then maybe it'll hold it.
All right. Oh, on its side like that? Well, let's try that. Let's put a rubber band around it to hold it in place there. Well, that kind of was too tight for that one. Try this rubber band. So you think just on its side like that? All right, we'll test it.
Oh.
No, I don't think that was down. I bet that it might hold it like this, do you think? Think it's strong enough for this?
No, it's too.
Well,
It has to be a little.
Hold it for a second there.
well, I think it was good. I think if I got the ends exactly even, that might actually work out if it was perfectly
Oh, there we go.
balanced
Yeah.
like that. All right, but you remember the experiment was it had to span these 2 sides of this little wood frame here, so we got to try something different. Any other ideas?
What if we folded the paper?
Folded the paper? How would you fold the paper? Show me.
Like a fan?
Like a fan? Like back and forth?
Back and forth.
All right, well, it turns out I think you got a good idea. Here, I happen to have one with me, like this. But you know what we're going to do to make it even better so that the sides of it don't expand too much? I'm just going to loosely put a rubber band around each end to keep it from getting away from us. Now, what do you think? Can of soup?
Perfect. I think it'll
Yeah.
work.
Yes.
Give it a try.
Oh, there we
Wow,
go.
there it is. That was even relatively easy. And unlike the circle that we had there, it didn't have any problem holding that can of soup up. Any idea why?
Because again, like the circle in the last experiment, each of these ridges supports it and has the same number of molecules underneath the can. So.
Right, you're right. Actually, the principle of physics that's in play here is called longitudinal stress, which talks about lining up the weight so that it's on the long side of the paper, so there's as many molecules as possible underneath it. In this case, because we folded it back and forth, we've actually taken 1 sheet of paper and made it into many sheets of paper because of all the pleats in it. That's the same kind of thing you'll see in a cardboard box. If you look on the side of a cardboard box, there'll be a sheet there and a sheet there and something just like that inside that. And as you know, a cardboard box is pretty strong. All right, great. Well, you guys are obviously great engineers. I can see why your city won. Congratulations. Thanks for joining us today on SciEngiMathePloration, and we'll see you in the future. SciEngiMathePloration.